Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Again, if you can hear power tools, construction, I'm at my boyfriend's house again. This is my chosen podcast recording spot, and it's like the loudest place on earth. So I'm very sorry about that. There's beeping trucks, there's building of houses, there is literal like diggers going back and forth. However, this is what we're working with today. I am very sorry. But hi, hello, welcome back. I'm having one of those days today where everything is going wrong. Everything is pissing me off. I have just bought a new laptop. I decided to invest in a nice new laptop because the one I use now is currently like my dad's old work laptop. It's like a 2012 MacBook. Doesn't do shit anymore. Like I couldn't even use voice memos on there because apparently that's too new of an app, even though it's a fucking Apple app. So I don't really, it just is dying. So I got myself a new one and I was like, this morning I'm going to get up early, set it up, transfer all my podcast notes and everything over to it, make sure this old one has not got anything I need on it. However, oh my God, the amount of steps there is, I forget, to setting up a new Apple product. Like when you get a new phone, this is worse. This is worse than setting up a new phone. Even like I wanted to transfer my Word documents onto my new laptop. You have to pay for Word. Apparently I didn't know that. That's apparently common knowledge. You have to pay for Microsoft products like Word, PowerPoint. So fine, I'm gonna have to make an account. I can't not have Word on my laptop. I use Word a lot, especially for like planning these podcasts. Like I need to be able to make a fucking document for something. Do you know what I mean? What's the point of having a laptop? So I'm like, okay, I'll set one up. I did it wrong. It won't work. It's taken my money. I don't know how to get it back. I don't know how to get a refund. I don't have the fucking time to sit and ring Microsoft right now. I'm meeting a friend in an hour. I was also going to prep my lunches for the whole week today. I don't have time to do that anymore. I don't know what the fuck is going on today. It's put me in a sour mood. When you're like, I want to cry. Because I'm not gonna lie, I did fucking sit and sob for a minute because I was like, like nothing deeply wrong is happening, but everything is fucking going wrong. And like, oh my God, it's just the worst. So that's how my day is going. It's currently 11:52 in the morning. It's nearly midday. And all I've done today is fucking faff around with this laptop and get nowhere. I still can't do anything on it. Eat 2 potato waffles because I was hungry and I don't have time to make a proper breakfast. So I had 2 potato waffles in the toaster. And just washed my hair. I'm sat here with dripping wet hair. Again, I'm meeting a friend in an hour. I'm actually going on a dog walk out in the rain. I don't know why I've just washed my hair. Like, what the fuck is going on? That's the day I'm having. So if you want to imagine what's going on right now, I am sat dripping wet hair, done fucking nothing today, in a sour mood. So perfect timing to record a podcast. I love recording a podcast in a bad mood. It totally doesn't like transfer onto the podcast. Oh, also, whilst I'm giving a little life update about what's going on, if you listen to like a couple podcast episodes ago, I said I was going to do dry January. I was going to stop drinking. I kind of just in myself decided that I wanted to drink a lot less at the same time that it happened to be New Year. So I was like, okay, well, this is convenient. Maybe I'll do dry January. It's coming into January. I want to drink less. Perfect timing. So I was kind of like, I'm going to do dry January. And it's now February, what the fuck? 3rd, 2nd, I don't know. And yeah, I did not complete dry January. Just a life update if you're wondering how that went. I drank when I went away for my boyfriend's birthday, which I already knew that I would. And I had like, I can't even remember, a couple drinks towards the end of January. Nothing crazy, but like a couple glasses of wine like on a date or whatever. Nothing crazy. But I've realized I was going to make a whole episode at the end of dry January as like my reflections of dry January, what I thought, how it felt. I'm not going to bother doing that anymore because I didn't fucking do it. However, I do think it's benefited me because if I'm being honest, at the start, I think a lot of when I would drink, it was like habitual, which is probably very normal for people. Like, I'm not necessarily majorly fussed about having a drink, but I often have a drink at, say, for me, it's like when I start cooking in the evening, I would be like, oh, this is a great time to have a glass of wine, which it is. It's a nice time to have a glass of wine. However, then when I don't even like really care about having a drink, like I could take it or leave it, my brain is like, oh, it's time to have a drink because it's almost made a habit of it, right? Which is kind of what I wanted to stop doing. Like, I didn't ever want to fully go sober, cut out alcohol. It doesn't feel like that's necessary for me. I like having a drink every now and then. It doesn't cause like major problems for me. However, I did want it to become a little bit like less often. And I did want, when I have a drink, it's because like I really want one, not because, there's a drink in the fridge and I could drink it and why not? Like I wanted to like actually fancy it. And something that has happened from like not really drinking at all in January, very barely, is I don't really think about alcohol. Like, I don't really think about it anymore. The only time I'm really like, ooh, I wouldn't like a drink is if I'm like dressed up, gone out on a date, which is fine. I don't mind having a drink then. But when I'm at home and I'm just like, cooking, having a bath, having a shower, doing stuff like pottering around, it doesn't even cross my brain that I could have a drink, which is like interesting because that used to be like my favorite time to have a drink. Whereas now I'm kind of just drinking a lot less, like more so like a couple of times a week, maybe. Or if I go out on a date, maybe I'll drink then and maybe I won't for the rest of the week. And that's exactly what I wanted. So even though I did not complete dry January, I have got the result I wanted. I wanted to drink still sometimes, but less and just when I really want to. And now that's what I do. In the evening, I have multiple, drinks in the fridge that aren't alcoholic that are really nice that I would reach for just as happily as I would alcohol. Actually, I would rather, because it also like really highlights how like disgusting alcohol can make you feel when you drink less, because then it really like is a contrast, if you know what I mean. Like it's really noticeable if you don't drink for like a week and then you have a couple glasses of wine, fine, but you know what I mean? Like if you have like say 3 to 4 drinks, that's probably what I would have to feel an effect, I'm not gonna lie. And then you're like, ooh, I feel so gross. And then it really just puts me off again. And that's why I'm a little bit more like selective about when I want to drink, because sometimes that's fine. I don't really care. Sometimes that's fine. But that's not what I want them to. Anyway, oh my God, who fucking cares? I'm going on so much about it. But that's my update. I didn't do dry January. However, I'm drinking a lot less. I'm enjoying it. I'm feeling really good at the moment. And alcohol has kind of just taken a back seat. And I'm very happy about that. So yeah, I'll update you if anything changes. I doubt it will. I kind of just wanted, oh my God, I'm not going to fucking go back into it. I was about to, so I kind of just wanted that, like, fucking no one cares. So what I wanted to talk about today is I've had something in my podcast notes on my old fucking laptop. Don't even remind me of the laptop situation. Oh my God, I will feel violently angry. But something I've had in my notes is I wanted to talk about limerance versus love, because this is something I find extremely interesting. Let me define limerance, because I didn't know what the fuck this meant until fairly recently. Right. This is so helpful. I've got a laptop in front of me. I can Google shit as I'm talking. So limerance is the state of being obsessively infatuated with someone, usually accompanied by delusions, or that is not what it says, delusions of or a desire for an intense romantic relationship with that person. So basically it's like being like obsessed with someone, right? It's not being in love with them, it's being very infatuated with them. I feel like it's weird because that can feel very similar to loving someone, to the point where it can be quite disorienting, You feel like you love someone and then say it doesn't work out, or say they move away or whatever the fuck, like something happens. You can very quickly just be like, oh well. And if you loved that person, you would not have that response. You'd be like heartbroken. And let me define love. Not that anyone doesn't know what that is. However, let's define it. Love is, let me search love definition. I'm curious to what it will say. An intense feeling of deep affection. See, that is like very fucking vague. Okay, I'm going to give up on Google because apparently Google does not know what love is. But okay, here. Love is selfless and involves true concern for the well-being and feelings of the other person, wanting them to be happy regardless of whether they are with you or not, and respecting their wants, feelings, and wishes. In contrast, limerance is an unhealthy, obsessional mixture of emotions. But isn't it weird that as much as these are different things, they can mask as each other, right? I feel like everyone has been in a situation where you've felt like obsessed with someone, you've had like a massive crush on them, whatever. Maybe it was a situationship or some fucking thing, or maybe you were like 16. I feel like that's a good example. Where you feel genuinely like this must be love. It's such an intense rush of emotion, right? It's almost like it's masking itself as love, but it's not. Because, for example, say if you feel this way towards someone, you feel really infatuated by them, you think you love them, and they move away or they date someone else. If you loved them, that would crush you, right? You'd be heartbroken. That would actually have like a toll on your brain. You would feel like shit. But if you didn't love them and you were just kind of obsessed with them, you could just be like, maybe for a moment you'd be like, oh, what the fuck? That's a shame. And then you would kind of happily just focus on something else, or maybe you'd obsess over someone else, or you'd just move on with your life. I feel like that's a good sign as to when it's not love. If it doesn't fucking crush you, do you know what I mean? I feel like it's weird because your brain is convincing you that you love someone. But there is obviously a big difference in terms of the selflessness. I think that's probably the main difference. And also, I think a lot of the time, if I think in my experience, when I would say I'm in a state of limerance, if you would call it that, it's very in the brain, it's very imaginative, it's very hypothetical. You don't know enough about the person to actually know if you would love them, if you know what I mean. I think our brain sometimes like fills in the gaps when it doesn't really know. Like I've had this with friends before where they'll be like talking to a guy, like they don't really know him, but they're like kind of loosely talking to them. It might go somewhere. And they make all these fucking assumptions about this person, right? Because our brain does that. It's not like malicious or anything weird. But if they say one thing, you'll kind of think, okay, so they must be like this as a person, or they must be like, they would probably treat me like, and it's like, you don't know that. It's like there's too many gaps, too much space for your mind to create the kind of narrative and person that it wants, right? Because there's not enough facts there. That then you can kind of come up with this like imaginative, like obsession. You can become really obsessed and feel like you love, but you don't fucking know them. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's weird because it does make me think like, why does the brain do that? Like, why does it do that? Like, part of me wonders if it's the human nature of us, right? Like, our bodies, I guess, biologically want us to be with a partner or mate or whatever the fuck. So it's like, is it your brain just convincing you that you like really like this person and you want to date them? Because of that like biological urge, right, to date and like procreate, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it dressing up limerence and like lust and things as love so that you'll go and date someone? Because our brains do weird fucking things. You know, our brains do really weird things that like it does make, because for example, like, you know, when you go through a breakup and you know it was the right decision and that you don't want to be with them, but your brain goes through these like withdrawals where it will start lying to you and convincing you that you've made the wrong decision and that they were great and that you should go back to them, blah, blah, blah. That's not logical. You know, that's a bad decision. But your brain sometimes pushes you and convinces you of stuff because it wants to feel comfortable and it wants to do this and that and the other. So it's like, it's not crazy to me that like your brain would convince you that you're like in love with someone almost when you're not. It just wants you to fucking date someone and have sex and like mate. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, if something goes wrong, for example, like they move away, like I said, your brain is like, oh, that's pointless. That's a fruitless situation. I'm going to move on to someone else, because it's just like the biological side of humans. Like, is that what it is? Or is it just like we get fucking delusional? We definitely do. But like we get delusional when we're bored or when we're lonely, right? So it's like we want a partner. Maybe you really want a boyfriend. So you kind of just assume and run with random things that you don't know about people because you want them to be something, right? It's like you're causing your own delusions because you just don't want to be alone. So you're kind of trying to make them what you want in your head. But I don't know, my fascination with this is the fact that they are very different things, but they can feel the exact same. However, obviously not long term, because I think that is by nature what limerence is it is a very intense flush of feelings, but it cannot last. It cannot I guess it could turn into love, right? It's possible. It's unlikely because you're probably starting on a really shaky foundation. However, anything's possible. But, you know, the start of a relationship with someone that you really genuinely do like and could grow to love can feel very similar to limerence and just being obsessed with someone and having a crush on them and not being in that place of like actually feeling like you could love them. Do you know what I mean? They can feel the same. I think the longer that you go on and you follow down that path though of dating this person, the more you're gonna like quite quickly find out which one it is, right? Because like I said at the start, love is more selfless. If you love someone, you actually are willing and feel quite keen to alter things for them. But that's the thing. It's like people will do that for people they don't love. And it's not for a healthy reason. It's not because they love them and they want them to be happier and stuff. It's like they're trying to conform to fucking get this person to want to be with them. But you could convince yourself that you're doing it because you love them. This is what's so confusing. But I would say the main difference between them is when you love someone, you are willing to alter your days or your habits, maybe, depends on what they are. You're willing to make some sort of sacrifices or shifts to make them happy, to make it work with them, right? It's more selfless. And I feel like limerence is a bit more like self-serving. Like you're kind of stroking your own ego in some weird way. Like you're wanting validation. It's more like desperation based rather than like I want to do this for this person. I don't really give a fuck if they return anything. Obviously, like, there is a give and take to love, but you know what I mean? That with limerence, it's kind of like you're really wanting a certain result. You're wanting them to want you. And sometimes you don't even want them once they want you. That's the thing. Oh my God. Is this making sense? Am I just breaking everyone's brains? Am I making no sense? Or are people following? I'd love to know. But I think in my experience as well, when I have felt intense like rushes of feelings and obsession towards people, it's very dopamine fueled, and it's very like, I just want that sort of validation-y kind of thing. It's not fucking love. But then if you asked me at the time, that's the thing, is I'm talking about in hindsight, it's blaringly obvious that these things aren't love. It's, oh my God, so obvious. Especially when you have been in love or are in love. You're like, yeah, that's not fucking love. But when you're in it, this is what I mean. Why the fuck does your brain think that it could be love? Like, if you ask someone who has really big crushes, really obsessed, really likes someone, wants to see them all the time, blah, 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 you said, do you think you love them? They wouldn't be like, no, that like, this is just limerence. Do you know what I mean? They'd be like, maybe it feels like love. And our brain obviously does that for a reason. And I want to know why. I want to know why does your brain, I don't know. I think when it comes to like matters of the heart, like logic does go out of the window and we do the weirdest shit. I find it so interesting. There's nothing else really that makes people act so fucking weird than when there's feelings involved between you and another person. That is when people act so out of character. They do the weirdest stuff. They become like another fucking version of themselves. And then it's like when that ends, they go back to themselves and it's like, who was that? Like it's insane because nothing else I don't think does that. But it's frustrating as well because you think about how many times you've been like stuck in some sort of, whether it's a relationship or a situationship or just a crush on someone, and you've been stuck in it thinking like that you love this person, and then you like leave it and you're like, yeah, I didn't love them. Why can't you see it in the moment? It's so odd. But I do just wonder, is it like just delusion because we just don't want to be alone and we just make up fucking weird stories and become obsessed with people? Or is it that human nature thing of like your brain is doing weird shit because it doesn't want you to be single, you know? Because I guess I don't know, I'd have to do research, but there is probably a biological thing of like your brain, your body doesn't want you to be single, right? Is that a thing? Did someone just knock on the fucking door, or am I actually hearing things? If they did, I'm not answering that because I'm fucking busy. Okay, this is interesting. So I just clicked on one of the like people also ask tab thing on Google. Someone asked, is falling in love the same as limerence? And it says, limerence is a dopamine-fueled state of intense, yet potentially unrealistic obsession. Whilst love involves deeper emotional bonding and investment between partners over an enduring relationship. That is more of what I mean, like it is dopamine-fueled. It's like an obsession. It's like you want a hit of dopamine. You want them to want you, it's just like, almost like a game. But it feels like love. It's so weird. It can, I guess. It's not always going to feel like love, but it can. But it's weird because here on another thing it says, how do I know if it's limerence or love? Love involves a deep and reciprocal emotional connection. It doesn't have to, surely. You could love someone and they don't love you back. That's still love. You know, it says love involves a long-term mutual respect. I don't think it needs to be mutual. There's definitely people who are actually fucking in love with people that do not love them back. Like, what if they're dead? Do you know what I mean? I need them to mention the exceptions here. But I do agree with it. It says limerence can be fleeting. Someone can have intrusive thoughts and fantasies about a person one day and lose interest the next. That is what is so fucking interesting to me. That's exactly what I mean. Is it will feel like, oh my God, I have such strong feelings toward this person. Like I feel like I could love them, right? Or like I really want to be with them, whatever. But then you can literally not feel like that the next day, which like, isn't that bizarre? Like, why the fuck has that happened? Like, what is the fucking science behind that? Why does your brain convince you that you fucking love someone, or that you really want to be with someone and that that's a really great decision and that you have all these feelings towards it? And then like, this is the thing, is I think something that I always believe is that you need to have things in your life that you care about more than whether or not you are in a relationship or something, right? I think it's important to have some sort of like passion or hobby or something in your life that fills that fucking void, right? Whether it's some sort of passion or hobby or pastime. Maybe you're really into running, or maybe you're really into making a podcast, or maybe you're really into horse riding or cooking or something. I think it's so important to have things that you really give a fuck about and really care about. I think it makes you a lot less prone to, can you hear the fucking beeping? I'm literally recording a podcast on a construction zone, like that's my fault. But I think it makes you a lot less prone to falling victim to limerence because your brain is occupied. It's not in that state of like, oh, I'm bored, so I'm going to convince myself I fucking love this random person I've just met on the street. You know, I think that keeps your brain busy. And the idea that you can have this limerence, right, and then the next day feels something different implies that your brain is like finding something to fucking do, right? Finding some sort of focus. That I think if you have things that you care about more than finding a guy today or finding someone that you can have a crush on, whatever, then it's not going to be fucking jumping from like obsession to obsession. It's not going to be jumping from, like, I've had friends like that before where it's like every day it's a different fucking person they're obsessed with. And as much as if you want to do that, fine. But it seems like it's unfulfilling, right? It seems like your brain is not going to feel fulfilled by that. Whereas doing something with your time that you're actually going to enjoy, it doesn't mean you can't have a relationship and do that at the same time, but it means you're not going to be fucking like randomly obsessing and convincing yourself that you think these things and feel these things. Like, that's not going to happen. There's not so much gap in your brain that's fucking bored, right? This is just my ideas. I don't know shit. But I feel like in my experience, the times that I have fallen victim to limerence is when I've had too much time on my hands and I have not been fucking entertaining myself or doing anything of interest. And then I will just randomly, your brain is just like, what can I land on that will occupy me? Oh, here's a random fucking unhealthy thing that I can obsess over. Whereas if I had a fucking hobby, I don't think that would have happened. Oh my God, I just clicked on this thing that says, what happens to the brain during limerence? As limerence progresses, the mental state begins to shift into something darker, transitioning to intrusive thoughts you can't control, difficulty in regulating your mood, and a woeful inability to concentrate on other things. As much as that, oh my God, there's a fucking website, livingwithlimerance.com. As much as that sounds really fucking depressing, I do think that's what it can do, is it can just distract you and it becomes an obsession that can just ruin your life, right? Limerence is an altered mental state. That means its origin lies in our brains and the neurochemistry that regulates our perceptions and emotions. Although direct research on limerence is very limited, this is what I mean. Research it. I want to know. I'm interested. We know a lot about the neuroscience of addiction and emotions, blah, blah, blah. Limerence feels remarkable. It's euphoric at first, exhilarating, energizing, causes dramatic mood swings, again, the dopamine of it all. Once you're in deep, your limerent object is the most powerful stimulus in your environment. Everything about them takes on exaggerated significance, right? So it basically is just describing a fucking addiction. This is what I mean. I do think I've done episodes before on like situationships, and they are just, call it a situation, it's a dopamine addiction. That's what it is. It doesn't fucking matter who it is that you're talking to. I guarantee that they're probably fucking unstable though. Because if they were stable, I don't think there'd be this back and forth. Maybe. I don't know them. Oh my God, this is crazy. When getting to know a new LO, what the fuck is that? Limerence object? Maybe? Limerent object? Limerents soon find themselves in a state of over-arousal. Their heart will beat faster and you will be described as hyper. My God. See, this is just so weird. Why is that happening? Why is your brain just randomly obsessing over someone that you don't know and just randomly becoming like addicted to this person you don't know? The only thing I can think of is your brain doesn't have anything fucking better to do. It just is dopamine thirsty and needs some actual fucking joy in your life. Like, I don't know. I would love for them to actually do the research. Livingwithlimerance.com. I would appreciate if you would work this out for me. But I can't imagine your brain would do that if it was occupied with more stimulus in your daily life. Because like I said, again, the times that I can think of where this has been a state I would say I've fallen into is when there's nothing going on in my life. Like when I'm happy and I'm busy, you know, when I've been single and I've been like doing stuff, seeing my friends, going to the beach, reading books, blah, blah, blah. I don't think this has ever fucking happened. Like, I don't think this has ever fucking happened. Oh my God, that's so funny. I scrolled to the bottom of this article and the last line is, turns out brains can be dumb, full stop. That's the end of the fucking article. That was literally my point. And so I was saying, your brain can be fucking stupid. Your brain can just make you think shit that does not make any sense and just make your life so much harder. Like, even though your brain is like supposedly really smart and helpful, which it is in a lot of ways, obviously, like when it comes to your life, you don't need to listen to your brain blindly. The amount of times I've fucking said this on this podcast, but I believe it so strongly that sometimes you really feel like you need to do something, or you feel a certain way, or this would be the best thing to do right now, or I should really do. Who's telling you that? Because if it's your brain, you need to this is the thing. I was like, you really need to think about that. But what, with your brain? Like, there's nowhere else to think. But it's just tricky. Like, you can't just trust that your brain is doing the best thing for you. Your brain does not have your best interest at heart all of the time. You have to really be discerning about your thoughts sometimes. And this is an example of when it's good to not just blindly trust your brain, but it's hard. It depends how deep you are into this fucking dark addiction, apparently. It's just talking a lot about dopamine circuits in your brain, which is what I assumed. Why does limerance feel like love? There we go. That's exactly what I wanted. Limerance is, weird, an obsessive form of love. That's crazy, because I don't know I would have said it's a form of love. I don't think I would have said that. Oh my God, this is so funny. There's a video that says the icky feeling when someone is limerent on you. I didn't even think about it the other way around, because when people are weirdly obsessed with you, but they don't really know you, it's weird to think that they might have a fucking dopamine addiction to you. I've never thought about that. I wonder if anyone out there fucking has had that and I haven't even known. I feel like I would know. I feel like it'd be quite obvious, to be honest. But oh my God. I'm a fucking genius. Another thing that's just come up on, again, livingwithlimerance.com. Limerance is an extreme manifestation of a near universal human desire to fall in love, to bond, and devote oneself to a mate. That's what I fucking thought it was. Oh my God, I'm a genius. I thought it was that. I was like, it feels like it's just a biological, mating fucking thing, that your brain is convincing you to pursue someone that it doesn't know just because it wants to fucking pursue someone. It's so weird. Oh my God, that's really just validated my entire life that I was right about that. I say right, they could also be wrong, but I think this makes complete sense to my brain. Oh my God. Anyway, right, I'm going to have to stop going down this fucking dark hole of limerence, but this, basically, no one fucking knows exactly why. However, it sounds like my guesses weren't super far off, so that's great. But yeah, thank you for listening. Hopefully this was interesting. Maybe you thought about your own experiences, but I'm going to have to very quickly go and dry my hair to go out dog walking in the rain. What a fucking stupid decision. But yeah, thank you for listening. Sorry if this episode was all over the place and you can hear drilling. Sorry about that. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you again soon.